GT7 1.52 as always brought new motor swaps along with it, and as I mentioned yesterday in my review for the update as a whole, we had 10 swaps instead of 5, including of course for one of the vehicles which debuted yesterday, the Toyota Hiace. We'll get to that one in due time, but let's dive straight in with a couple of Mazdas. First of all, initially the 2022 shape Mazda Roadster, so the more track focused ND variation. This one has a hell of a motor swap and a very expensive one as well because it's the Mazda 787B engine, so a pretty cool combination for a little track car. On that same point of 787B motor swaps though, you can also do that to the next car, which is another MX-5, the Roadster touring car. Now I haven't checked, but this could be quite a fun car if it is allowed to use in that MX-5 endurance event if you haven't done the mission yet on Tsukuba, but I'm not sure. Like I said, I haven't checked if you can use it or not. Now this next one actually brings me to a point which definitely needs to be said, especially now that we're having multiple swaps for the same vehicle. So that's something which we didn't really have to worry about before, and a few comments pointed this out, especially on yesterday's video, and it is definitely worth saying. If you've already done a motor swap on your car, so for this one for example, this is the Mitsubishi Evo 10, we of course already had the Escudo swap, which I'm not a huge fan of, to be honest, on this car. It's very, very laggy, but you already had that option, and one of my Evo 10s already had said engine. So when I took it in to show you the other swap, you couldn't see the other engine. So I had to come back out, get my other one, which of course was the FQ440 replica from Special Projects. Check that build out if you haven't already. Then you can see both of the engine swap options, including the new one, which is the Group B Rally Evo engine swap. The crucial thing which I alluded to though is just that. Once you've done an engine swap, you cannot fit the other one. So if you do have a vehicle which is potentially quite rare or expensive, and you do want to fit, a second swap, well, you might want to have more than one of the car, because you won't be able to, or at the very least, choose wisely which swap you want, because you can't go back. Next up, we're sticking on the theme of Mitsubishi, and interestingly, this is another car which had a Pikes Peak Escudo swap, which I'm also not really a fan of having, the GTO. The 1991 Mitsubishi GTO Twin Turbo. This time though, pretty curious motor swap. I feel like this might be a reference to the Dodge Stealth, I think. That's the first thing that came to mind for me at least, which if I recall correctly I think was basically the American market version of the Mitsubishi GTO, or an even more American market version, which is the Demon Challenger engine. That's a pretty cool swap, and it's a hell of a powerful one. I feel like that, I haven't done it yet, but that could be an absolute weapon. If you put that motor into that four-wheel drive platform, again without the lag of the Escudo engine, that could be an absolute beast. Next up, speaking of cars that have multiple motor swaps, this one was one of the earliest examples of a ridiculously OP machine. This was one of the earliest, if not the earliest, speed builds that I did in GT7, the 1988 S13 Silvia Qs. Super understated, old school looking JDM, but then you put that motor swap in it and it becomes a beast, ridiculously fast, way before we had Chiron engine swaps, and that was back in the days when you couldn't even buy these engines. You had to just get what you'd want, so you were fortunate to have a crazy fast Silvia back then. Now you can actually put the SR20 DET Silvia S15 engine into it as well, which is a curious option, I guess, if you want to keep it a little bit closer to home rather than going for the crazy V8 swap. I feel like for most players you'll probably just stick to the crazy overpowered one, but maybe if you've got a second Silvia, I guess you might go for this other one. Sticking on the point of Silvias though, we've got another one. This is also another dual swap car, one which I'd already done, so I actually had to buy another one to make this video reference, the S15 touring car. Pretty OP machine from what I hear. I don't use it that much myself, but I know a lot of people like it. We already had, what was it, I think the GTR engine swap, the 38, so the 3.8 litre GTR, I believe it was. Now you can put a more appropriate engine, a pretty cool one as well, the GT500, if I'm not mistaken, Nissan GTR, which is the VK45DE spec engine, which is the around 4.5 litre V8. And of course, doing something like that still kind of ruins most Group 4 cars in terms of what you can use them for, traditionally speaking, but I like that. I think of the two, it's a cooler engine to have because it keeps that more racing vibe. Now that we move into Toyota for the next four, the final four of the video, 3 variants of the Toyota 86, Great thing is though, they are all 3 unique engines. It's not just a case of the Evos having all the same engines swapped out. The first one is the Group 4 Toyota 86, so this is another one which will ruin the car if you're actually going to use it for conventional racing, but it's the GTR Nismo engine, so a hell of an engine to put into that little platform. The next one is the 2016 86 GR MN, which can have a 3UZ FE from the SC430 Lexus race car. Then we have the 2015 Toyota 86 GT, so this is the pre-facelift version, and this one can have a more interesting, a bit more pared down engine compared to those previous two, a K24A Civic Type R motor. So some interesting kind of cross-platform stuff there. You've got a Nissan motor in one, a Honda motor in another, and then kind of a different one in the form of Lexus, but still of course Toyota at its heart. So that's some pretty cool swaps if you're into your Toyota 86 tuning. And of course, last and definitely not least, the new Toyota Hiace, the 2016 DX, which of course you can put the BRZ LS7 engine into and turn it into a 1200 horsepower absolute monster. You can't see the engine properly on screen because I'd already done it. I couldn't be bothered to buy a second one just to showcase it, but you already know the drill. Most of you have already done this anyway. It's a beast of a car, so a pretty cool mix of 10 motor swaps this time around, and only one of them was actually doubled up, which was the 2 MX-5s with the 787B engines. Apart from that, all of the other engines were unique to each one here. I'm not of course saying that these engines haven't been used before, because they have, but I think you know what I mean. Overall then, that is it for the new motor swaps. A pretty cool mix, and I would say for many of us, if you're not a fan of the cars even, the motor swaps are probably one of the highlights, if not the highlight, of 1.52. Of course, we'll have to see what next time brings in terms of motor swaps as well, and I would be curious if you've already tried all of these, or if you've already got some favourites. For me, of course, I love the Hiace. The next one that I really want to try is probably going to be that Mitsubishi GTO to see what that can do. So we'll have to see in future what those are capable of. And like I said, slap down in the comments if you've already found some kind of absolutely OP beast out of any of these motor swaps. And of course, I'll see you next time with more. Be sure to stick around for the next few days on the channel as well, because I will be reviewing the cars of 1.52 individually. So I'll see you then, and for now, thanks for watching.